Let's transition and let's go down to Jacksonville. We got a big time matchup between the San Francisco 49ers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 49ers are favored by 3 points. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff in Jacksonville. The over under for this matchup is 45 and a half points. And both of these teams are fresh off a bye week. These are two teams going in opposite directions, though. The 49ers, they're on a 3-game losing streak, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are on a current 5-game winning streak. So when I look at this matchup, let's start off with the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy is their starting quarterback. And you look at his numbers this year, so far this season, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 2,033 passing yards. He's completing 68% of his passes. I remember in the first 5 weeks of the season, the 49ers, they were 5-0. They had just blew out the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, and so many 49er fans were on social media, and people were ready to crown Brock Purdy as this great quarterback. People were talking about, you look at his record as a starter since he's been the starting quarterback for the 49ers. You look at his statistics and so forth. Brock Purdy is the next Steve Young. He may be the next Joe Montana. People were ready to just crown Brock Purdy this elite quarterback. They were pretending like Brock Purdy was the reason why the San Francisco 49ers were 5-0 to start the season, and he was never the reason why the 49ers were 5-0. Brock Purdy has never been the strength of the San Francisco 49ers. Never. And you look at Brock Purdy in his first 5 games compared to his last 3 games. In his first 5 games, Brock Purdy completed 72% of his passes. In his last 3 games, he's completing 63% of his passes. In his first 5 games, Brock Purdy had 9 touchdown passes. In his last 3 games, only 3 touchdown passes. In his first 5 games, Brock Purdy had 0 interceptions. In his last 3 games, he's thrown 5 interceptions. In his first 5 games, he had 2 rushing touchdowns. In his last 3 games, 0 rushing touchdowns. So when I look at the 49ers, I look at their team. Obviously, in the backfield, you got Christian McCaffrey. Okay, at receiver, you got a dynamic duo with Deebo Samuel, with Brandon Ayuk. Okay, at tight end, you got George Kittle, a top 3 tight end in the NFL. And then on their offensive line, you got all-pro tackle Trent Williams. Okay, you got Jake Brendel. And then you got Kyle Shanahan as your head coach, a great play caller offensively. And then we know how great that 49ers defense is. But when I think about the San Francisco 49ers, I look at Brock Purdy as being maybe 8th or 9th at being the reason why they win football games. Brock Purdy should never be confused with being this good quarterback. He's average. I keep telling 49er fans this. He's average. Now, I think the problem is the bar was so low for San Francisco 49er quarterbacks that people feel like Brock Purdy is elite because he's playing well. No, Brock Purdy is better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but that doesn't mean he is elite. That doesn't even mean he's good. He's not a good quarterback. He's average at best, okay? And if everything around him isn't going right, then Brock Purdy struggles. He struggles, and he doesn't play well when the 49ers are losing games. When the 49ers are winning games, Brock Purdy plays very well. You look at the numbers this year. When the 49ers are leading football games or tied, he has 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. When they're trailing games, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. When the 49ers are leading or tied in games, he's completing 70% of his passes. When they're trailing in games, he's only completing 64% of his passes. When they're leading games or tied, his passer rating is 116. When they're trailing, it's 82. So, again, is Brock Purdy a competent, average NFL quarterback? Yes. But let's stop trying to pretend like Brock Purdy is this good quarterback. Okay? He's not better than Jalen Hurts. He's not better than Trevor Lawrence. He's not better than Justin Herbert. Okay? He's not better than Josh Allen. He's not better than Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. The list goes on and on. He's not better than even Tua Tagovailoa. He's not. He's not better than Kirk Cousins. Okay? He's not. So we have to stop with this narrative like Brock Purdy is some good quarterback. He's not. He's average at best. And if the 49ers are going to be true Super Bowl contenders, it's not going to be because of Brock Purdy. It's going to be because of their defense and them getting back to their DNA and why they were 5-0 to start the season. And that's the reason why I feel like they've been struggling over the last 3 weeks. You look at the 49ers over the last 3 weeks. In week 6, they gave up 19 to P.J. Walker and the Cleveland Browns. In week 7, they gave up 22 to Kirk Cousins. And Jordan Addison had a field day against that 49ers secondary. Had a field day. And then in week 8 against the Bengals, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals offense threw a party against that 49ers defense. They scored 31. I think Jamar Chase had 10 receptions for 100 receiving yards in that game. So I feel like the 49ers defensively have to get better. Defensive coordinator Steve Wilks, he got to make some adjustments. He really got to make some adjustments. You look at the 49ers defensively, teams throw for 229 passing yards against this 49ers defense. That's ranked 19th in the NFL. And teams convert on 41% of their third downs against this 49ers defense. That's ranked 21st in the NFL. And they got the personnel to be elite. You got Nick Bosa up front. You got Arik Armstead as well. At linebacker, you got one of the best linebackers in the NFL in Fred Warner. You got Dre Greenlaw as well. In the secondary, you still got Tre'Davious Ward. Okay? So this 49ers defense has to play better. They have to play better. Now that they're going to get back Deebo Samuel and they're fresh off a bye week, you hope Christian McCaffrey can come in and help take some pressure off of Brock Purdy offensively. So offensively, now that Christian McCaffrey is going to be back, fresh off a bye week, he should be more healthy as we head into the second half of the season. You're going to get back Deebo Samuel. So you're going to have your full arsenal offensively at the skill position players. So you got Deebo Samuel. You still got Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. So now the 49ers should be able to play within the offense and play with the lead if their defense shows up. But it has to be on that defense. The 49ers defensively, when they were 5-0, they were a top 5 defense in the NFL. I don't know what's happened, but they've been struggling over the last few weeks. Now, when I look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously the Jaguars are led by Trevor Lawrence. So far this year, Trevor Lawrence, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,935 passing yards. He's completing 68% of his passes. The Jaguars are on a current 5-game winning streak. And I look at their numbers during this 5-game winning streak and offensively what they've been able to do. And they started in week 4 against the Falcons. They had 23 points. Week 5 against the Bills, they scored 25 points. That was the game that was played overseas. Week 6, they had 37 against the Colts. Week 7, that was that Thursday night game against the Saints. They had 31. And I think that Saints defense is pretty good. They had 31 points against that Saints defense. And then in week 8, against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I believe is a top 10 defense in the NFL, they scored only 20 points. So I'm looking for some consistency from Trevor Lawrence. I feel like so far this year, he's playing like a game manager. Now, I believe that Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback who could possibly be great. but he's playing like a game manager this year. You look at the numbers this year, Trevor Lawrence, this is ranks this season. In passing yards per game, he's ranked 15th. In passing touchdowns per game, he's tied for 20th. And pass touchdown percentage, he's 23rd. And passer rating, he's 13th. So even though we know how good Trevor Lawrence is and we know his potential, he's not playing to his full potential. Trevor Lawrence is playing mediocre at best. He's playing mediocre at best. He's playing like a game manager. And in order for the Jacksonville Jaguars to be playoff contenders and possibly go on a deep playoff run, they need Trevor Lawrence to play great football at the quarterback position. So that has to be better. That has to be better. But when you look at his last 17 games, this is Trevor Lawrence. His record is 13-4, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's completing 69% of his passes. He's averaging 248 passing yards per game, passer rating 99.5. So he's winning games. He's winning games. In the last 17 games, he's 13-4. But he has to start looking good offensively as their quarterback, and the Jaguars have to start putting up some points. They really, really do. Because I don't look at the Jacksonville Jaguars as having this elite, great defense. Defensively, they're bottom half in a lot of major categories. They give up 264 passing yards per game. That's ranked 30th in the NFL. So you can throw the ball against this Jaguars defense. And they give up 354 total yards per game. That's ranked 22nd in the NFL. But they only give up 20 points per game defensively, which is tied for 8th. So a lot of teams are able to move the ball against that Jaguars defense. But when they get into the red zone against this Jaguars defense, they usually stand strong. They stand strong. So I'm more of a points per game guy. Like how many points per game are you giving up? Every team in the NFL in a passing league is going to give up yards. You're going to give up yards, but can you hold teams to field goals instead of touchdowns once they reach the red zone? So that defense is, I think they're average. Jacksonville defense is average. You know, defensively, you got Devon Hamilton, you got Josh Allen, Devin Lloyd, but make no mistake about it, the strength of this Jaguars football team is their offense led by Trevor Lawrence. Now you got Travis Etienne in the backfield, and at receiver, you still got Christian Kirk. You still got Zay Jones as well. Calvin Ridley was hot to start the season. He's a solid receiver in this Jacksonville Jaguars receiving room. Okay? And at tight end, you got Evan Ingram. So the Jaguars offense, they're one of those offenses to me that's good but not great. But it's the strength of their football team for sure. And it's going to be an interesting matchup. This is probably the matchup I'm the most excited about in Week 10. Two quality, good NFL head coaches going up against each other, and Kyle Shanahan and Doug Peterson. So this is going to be a good matchup. I feel like even though the Jacksonville Jaguars have the better quarterback, I feel like this is the game the 49ers really, really desperately need. The 49ers desperately need to win this game. They've lost 3 straight games going into the bye week, and you feel like, okay, coming out the bye week, we have to fix some things so we can get back to playing at a high level. You got Deebo Samuel coming back. You got Christian McCaffrey, who should be healthy. I'm going to roll with the 49ers in this matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think the 49ers are the more complete football team. And so I'm going to roll with the 49ers to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'll go 49ers 24, Jaguars 21. But I think it's going to be a great matchup between two playoff football teams. And the main reason why I'm picking the 49ers as well is because I feel like the 49ers are more desperate than the Jaguars are. If the 49ers weren't on this 3-game losing streak, this would be a game I would feel like the Jaguars could win. And then you also look on the flip side. The Jaguars could be complacent. They've won 5 straight games. They're still a young football team, okay? But I'm going to roll with the more experienced football team and the more complete football team in the 49ers. I'm going 49ers 24, Jaguars 21.